In this video, we will discover lamps. So here in Blender, we have here the object lamps that you can add with the add menu here, and you have the light here. We will not talk about light probe, it's a little more advanced feature, but already with lamps you will understand that there is a lot of things to do. There are a lot of things to do. So here we have already a light setup. So if I go into render view here, I will have my render view. Okay, you see the light that goes through the windows, create a shadow here and the light over there. So yeah, it's already done. Me, what I would like to do is show you how it works, basically how lights work. So for that, I will just create a new collection and deactivate the lights here and create lights experiment, let's say. Okay, good. And what I will do, I will just go into the world here settings. Here you can see that you have a world that is very dark gray here. Okay, so if you increase that, you will have already a global light into your scene. Okay, you can go and select the color that you want. Okay, but for the experimentation here, I want something totally black without any diffuse light like this, and like this I can just add lights and see really the effect of the lights. Okay, so the first light we will add here is the point. The point is very easy to understand. It's a little like a bulb or like maybe a candle or something like that. It's a light that will go to every directions around a point. Okay, so it will go like this, all directions. Okay, and it will decrease with distance. Okay, so the strength will decrease with distance. And what we will do to show that we will just take our lamp here and move it around. Okay, so I will just move like this, and you can see that if I go far from the scene, it will not affect the scene. Okay, so it will decrease with distance. You have the light options here that you can find over there. They are a little similar for all the kind of lamps that we can find, but more or less what you have for all the lights, it's the color and the power. So the color here, you can change the light color. For example, if I want something a little more like a candle, I will do this. Okay, I can increase the power as well to have something stronger or less strong. Okay, and I can use the soft here, fall off here. By default, the radius will change something very important. So by default here, the radius it as 0, but and it creates very sharp here. Okay, you can see very sharp shadows here. If you increase this radius, you will have soft shadows. Okay, so depending on what you want in your scene, you can play with that. Okay, so it's very important to understand that. And here you have some options like cast shadows or not. Okay, so create shadows or not. Shadow caustics, multiple importance, you always keep it like that, it's better for reduced noise. And shadow caustic here will create some caustics for objects that has some glass shaders or things like that. So if I add maybe here a mesh UV sphere, okay, scale it down, put it somewhere in the scene, like here, let's say, not far from the table, it will show better the effect. Okay, so in top view, here I will put it here, and in front view, orthographic mode, I will put it there. Make Ctrl+2 in that to have something smooth and make a shade smooth, and I will just create a new material. I will show you how it works this later. all these options here, but I will just go there into the transmission, increase the weight here. And maybe what we can do as well is decrease the roughness. Like this, we have something like pure glass, like this crystal ball here. So what we want here, when you select now the light there, if you enable shadow caustics, it will change a little here. It doesn't show that much, but it will change here a little the reflections here, and it will show better results, so more accurate results. It takes a lot of memory, this, so don't use it if you don't have any transparent material in your scene, okay? So this, it's the lamp point, and yeah, very useful for interior scenes, like for example light bulbs or things like that you can add. And any artificial lamp will be like this, except the spot that will be something that is directional, but this one, it's multi-directional, so very good to add in your scene. Okay, so this was the point. Now I will add the sun. Let's add the sunlight. The sunlight has a direction into it. It's not a multi-direction, it's just one direction, and it shows with this line here, okay? So you have direction. It means that if I make a rotation into my object, I will change the shadow like this, okay? It's into the entire scene. There is no fall off into it for the strength. So it means I can put my wherever into the scene, it will work into the entire scene. So for example, let's make a direction that will light a little everything there, something like that, okay? And you can see that now the direction is done, the direction of the light is done. And if I put my lamp even above like this, it will not change anything it will not change anything, or even behind the wall it will not change anything, because it's a unidirectional lamp with no fall off for the strength. So really here you have something that will work into the entire scene, whatever the direction or whatever the location of the lamp that you will put, okay? Here you can play with RZ, for example, for change the strength, so you can make this kind of sun effect that's rotating during the day. Can be interesting. You can change the color as well, you can change the strength. It's not a size, but it's an angle, and yeah, it makes more or less the same effect than the other lamp. It will create some soft shadows if you increase the value here, okay? So if you want something softer, you increase this angle. If you are between 0.5 and 0, you will have something really sharp. And if you put something, but with a little here blurriness in the edge of some, but if you put it at 0, you will have really perfect. And usually it's not really realistic. That's why 0.5 is a good value for the sun here. Here, so we have the sunlight, really important for exterior scenes for sure, but for interior scene as well. Like for example, if I have this and make a rotation to have something more like that, and make a rotation with this, now I can have this kind of light effect through the window, so can be very interesting as well, okay? You can cast the shadows, you can shadow the caustics if needed, and that's it. You can play with the strength as well to have something more or less. So here it's not power with watts, because it would be totally nonsense for a sun, okay? So it's just the strength for the entire scene. Usually you work between 1 and 5 maximum. Okay, so let's go for a next lamp here. I did add a sun here. I have another lamp to add. It's a spot. The spot, as it says, makes a spot effect, okay? Like a scene spot like this. So how it looks and how it works. Basically, a spot is a point, but reduced into a cone. So you can imagine that it's exactly the same behavior than a point, okay? So it will, by default, go into every directions here, and it's reduced into one cone, inside one cone that is here, that you can change here the cone size here, okay? So it will be inside, oops, sorry, it will be inside this shape, like that. Good. So now you can do several things with the spot that has specific things inside. It decreases with the distance as well, so it's exactly the same than the point. So if I make GZ, for example, it will be less and less. You can just click and drag here to play with the fall off. Here you can see that it will increase or decrease the fall off if you want something sharp or not. You can play with the power to add more strength into it. You can here make a direction to make something like that, make with air, so you can play with rotation as well. You can change the color, you can change the cast shadow, multiple importance, shadow caustics. Here we know how it works. And you can play with the spot size, okay? So by default it's 45 degrees, you can decrease it to have something sharper or more open like this, okay? So here you have the cone, very important for interior scenes, or for example to make some car lights or things like that, or exterior lights will work well with a spot like this as well. You have the possibility to use the blend here to make something a little less sharp like this, and you can show the cone inside the view to see a little how it will work, okay? So can be useful sometimes to use the spot, and yeah, very powerful for a lot of cases. Another one that is very important, yeah, again, the radius here will make your shadows less sharper or less sharp, okay? So here you have the spot. I will add another lamp. This one is the area here. So the area is a little different. It's like, if you watch it here, it's like a big it's like a big area like that. You can change the square to rectangle here, for example, to make, for example, let's say this kind of lights that will create different shadows or different reflections here. You can create here a disk if you want, another shape, and you can create an ellipse, for example, to have this kind of shape as well. So it can be very interesting. It's the size that will manage here the shadows. So if you have a big size, like for example this size here, it will create very soft shadows, as it's a real surface that will create the entire surface that will create the light and diffuse the light. So it's a directional one. It will go like this, okay, only, and not like that. So yeah, interesting to understand how it works. And here what we will do, we will just play a little with the settings. So it's a very interesting lamp to reproduce, for example, if you don't want to add an environment outside, you can use it for put it outside a window, just not far from it. For example, let's take a square like this and make a rotation into the x-axis 90 degrees negative. Like this, it will go like that, okay? And I will put it with GY somewhere around here behind the window. And you can see it will create this kind of diffuse light that comes from the outside, so it can be very good for that. If you increase the power maybe to 50, you will have something interesting going there, okay? And yeah, it will create basically a soft light coming from outside. So yeah, works very well to create already something. Maybe I can change a little the color to something a little more yellowish, okay? And we will play with the different settings to create a studio with 3-point lighting after in the end as an exercise. But yeah, basically you have the options for all the lamps here. As you can see, you have the same kind of options here. The only that is different here is the beam shape that you can change. So it will really change the direction of the light, it seems. But except that, you have nothing else to understand. So what I will do, I will come back where I was with this light and I will show you some examples. Let's say I would like to highlight some parts of the scene. So I will just click and drag this above everything, okay? Scale it up a little, like that. And maybe increase a little the power. But not that much. I just want a soft light here, okay? And then just with another one, I will just duplicate, go in front view, make a rotation like this, and put it somewhere here. Inside view here, sorry. Make a rotation here and put it behind the window, just like that. Good. And now I can increase the strength of it if I want. Like 50 maybe, might be good to have this kind of light that comes from outside. So yeah, we have this kind of lighting now. What I can do, make it sharper by making it more little. Okay, what I could do here, let's say I would like to highlight this plant only and not the rest of the scene. Maybe I find that this plant here is a little too dark and I would like to focus on it. So I would like a lamp that will affect only this object. And it's possible now with another option that we didn't see yet. I will add a point, for example. Make it at 5, not that strong, and put it there, okay, near this part. And let's say I really would like to only highlight the plant and not the rest. Maybe even 2 might be good. Yeah, something like this might be good. Nice. So you can see that it affects the table, it affects the other objects, okay? If I hide it here, you can see the result. And I would like really to only highlight this one. So sometimes it can be very important to manage lighting more precisely. So what you can do for that, you just go there and you will find the object that you want to highlight. And maybe you will put it with M in a new collection. And this collection will be the plant, or let's call it highlights. Good. So now I have a collection highlights there. I come back into my point here and go there into the object options. And you can see that into the shading tab here, I have a light linking here. I will create a new one and I will add the collection that I want inside. So let's go there and find the new highlight collection that I did add here. And I will just click and drag like this. And now you can see that it's only the highlight collection that will be affected by the lamp. So it's very powerful one. Let's play a little and for example, we can move whatever object into this highlight collection. Let's say this one, I would like to highlight it too. So I will go there and I will just put it into, oh, not this one, put it into the highlights, and you can see that now it's affected by the lamp and not the rest of the scene. You can make exactly the same system. For example, the shadow linking here, it's the light linking and the shadow linking as well. So you can put the shadow only into the table, for example, and let's make it like put the highlights. So we will create not highlights, but a shadow. Okay, and I will create it like this. So now I can make exactly the same by shadow linking, create a new one and add the shadow for here like this. And now it will receive the shadow as well. So you can see that it's very interesting to work with this feature, and it's a lot of possibilities that you can play with like this to create light system that maybe you want to focus on one object, or sometimes when you make shaders into a character, for example, maybe you want to focus on the eyes only, and maybe the eyes are separated objects, so you want to highlight these eyes to have more expressions or something like this, and you can play with these settings as well. So yeah, very powerful system here for light linking, shadow linking as well. And now what we will do into the next video, we will see how to use images to create an entire light system just with one click. Very easy to do. And we will see that into the next video. In this video, we'll see how to manage HDRI images. So HDRI images are 360 degrees images that you can map into the world of Blender to create a full light, a full global light. So the benefit of it is really, it will create something really photographic and really realistic. So what you can do is going there into the Polyheaven website here. Okay, so Polyheaven website, we will come back to it during the training. There are a lot of things to cover into this website. Everything is free, everything is usable for every project that you want. It's just a support here system that you can support the team that will create new stuff, and you can download a lot of things. You have HDRI images that I will talk about now. You will have textures here to manage your materials or add some new styles here, and you have some models already done that you can download as a blend file here, and that are really realistic and really well done. So yeah, a real gold mine for yeah, Blender users and even whatever 3D software. So here what we have is HDRI. What is an HDRI? It's an image like this, okay, that will diffuse real light. So here you see the result of the light. Here you have really soft light, okay, it's a 3D scene here, and you see the reflections into the ball, and you see the shadow, how it will affect the scene. It will even create shadow. So it cannot work with a JPEG image or PNG image because there is not enough layers to make understand the software that there is a spot that will create some real light in the scene. Like for example, that one here, you can see that you have a real sun here, and in that specific image here you have a value maybe at 50. In a PNG or in a JPEG, it will never cross 1, okay? So, and it will create this really real really good here light effect and shadow effect that you have in real life, okay? So it will affect the entire scene and make global illumination really realistic. So let's go and see how it works in Blender to do that. So first of all, I did download into the source files here. I did download two things. I did download some of them HDRI for you. So I took only 2Ks here. So you can download here 1K, 2K, 4K, 8K until 20. Why, it's a lot, 20. And if you choose this, it will be a big size. So be careful. This size will increase the memory into your scene. So yeah, 2K just for background, it's okay. If you really want to have the realism in your render and have a real not blurred background, you can use maybe 4K or 8K. It might work. Sometimes you can go until 16K, 20K. It seems a lot for me, but anyway, here you have the possibility to do that. So I did download some for you here already, and you can see that it will not show how it is into Windows here. You will show the result only in Blender. So let's go in Blender, and what we will do first, we will just come back into the scene that we were working on with our lights before. And what I will do, I will just add a Suzanne. And this Suzanne, I will scale it down with Control 2, add a subsurf modifier and make a shade smooth. Now in side view here or in front view, whatever, I can make a rotation 90 degrees and make a rotation like that and put it into the table. Thank you, Suzanne. And with GY, maybe put it there. Okay, and have a rotation like that. What I will do, I will just create a new material that will be totally metallic and without any roughness into it, like this. In rendered view, if I enable the lights here, what I have is the reflection of Suzanne and what is outside Suzanne, okay? And you can see that here you see a lot of the darkness that is around into that side Suzanne. Here you can see that everything is black and it's not really realistic. Okay, especially if Suzanne were here, for example, we would have a lot of these dark reflections into it, and it will not look realistic at all. Okay, so what we will do to make the reflections better into this space, we will add an HDRI image. Okay, so let's disable the light and let's create that. So it will go into the world, it will be into the world section. Into the color, you just click into the dot here and choose environment texture, and so Blender shows that it will be there is something to do. So when there is pure pink like that somewhere in Blender, it's that you have something to change and that you haven't opened a texture. So let's go and open a texture. We will go into the right here folder, HDRI image, HDRI, and I will change to Victoria Sunset maybe. Okay, let's go. And now we have a full light into our entire scene, okay? We can manage the strains here and a few other settings. Mostly we don't go above 1.5 for these kinds of lights, but it's a little annoying to use this method. For example, if I want to change here, I would like to close, open, come back to the right folder, choose this one, and or maybe that one, and take the next one. Okay, I have this. So it's a little too much clicks to change this. And some settings are missing in my opinion here. For example, maybe sometimes you would like to make a rotation of the light to change the sun orientation, and here it's not possible by default. So, or you will have to add some options. It's a lot of clicks anyway. So there is an add-on that is done for that, and the name of the add-on is the HDRI, Easy HDRI add-on. Something that I have to tell you too, it's that when you add here the light HDRI, by default, if you are in orthographic view, you don't see the HDRI behind the objects. But if you go in perspective view, you will see here the entire image around. Okay, you can turn around like that. So what is important to understand, you see with 2K it's a little blurry. So, and if you want something really with a really nice here outside without blur or anything, you will have to go to 4K or 8K. It might be enough to manage this, depending on the framing and the zoom you want to add into your scene here. Okay, so this is a very powerful method to add a global light in a scene. Sometimes it's just you just add an HDRI light and it's enough, and you don't have to add any lamp or anything. It will work perfectly, especially for outside environments. So let's go and see a little this add-on. So we'll go into Edit, Preferences, and here I did download an add-on just into it's a zip file that you can download from internet already. But here, let's go into the add-on section and go there. So it's the first time maybe we install an add-on from disk. So let's go and here into the folder HDRI image, you have Easy HDRI 2.10.zip. You don't extract anything, you just select the file and install from disk, and it will say, hello, I'm here, I'm enabled, and that's it. Nothing to do more. You can close this, and now you will have a new section here called Easy HDRI. Okay? So Easy HDRI, let's enable screencast keys in case I make some shortcuts. Easy HDRI here will help you to manage your HDRIs. So let's select the folder, and the folder, we know it already, it's the HDRI folder. And now you will have the possibility to create world nodes directly. So let's go into that. It will make something far more complex here, as you can see. Okay. And these options, we don't use them anymore. Everything will be here now. Okay, you have the possibility to manage the sun strain, the sky strain. Okay, this doesn't change that much, but what is important is that you can already change the rotation of the sky. Okay, and it can move the orientation of the shadow. So this is very important feature. You can hide or not the background directly with just one click here. Very easy to manage as well. You can go into the background display. You can play it to solid if you want a solid black and just manage the rest of your scene like that. You can change the color and the strength. You can blur and generate a blurred image. Sometimes it doesn't work well. Anyway, it's not really useful. And here you can change the tint color, for example. Maybe you would like something a little more yellowish, so you can select a color like that and increase the factor, and it will change the tint of your image. It doesn't change the entire image except if you go there, here. So yeah, sometimes can be good to make something with something more blue, okay, more cold, okay, or here hotter. So as you want, you can change the factor. You can change the gamma as well and the saturation. If you want something totally black and white, you just go without any saturation. Okay, so here, very powerful one, and you can even manage a sun lamp object if needed. So yeah, a lot of things a lot of stuff to can manage here. And what is good is that you can just browse directly without any other click. 1 click, 2 clicks, and that's it. You have a new environment. As you can see, it's very powerful and works seamlessly. So yeah, I really encourage you to use this add-on, even if there are other ways to add some HDRI. So anyway, you can just create a folder somewhere in your hard drive that will never move and call it HDRI images. Make maybe some yeah, maybe you can arrange things in folder inside, like outside, inside, night, sunsets or skies or whatever. Here it's already really well done in the website. Here you can go there. For example, you see here the arrangement they did here, the skies. Here you have natural light, nature, particularly. So yeah, you can make your own into your folder, into your drive. And then after you have a lot of possibilities. There are a lot, as you can see, all yeah, it's 800, so maybe you will not need 800 into your hard drive, but sometimes it's useful to have some other possibilities. So don't hesitate to use that. It will really increase the realism of your scenes here. As you can see already here, look at the reflections into Suzanne, how it looks nice. So it's very important to have the possibility to use that. And sometimes you will need to add another lamp, maybe to increase the focus on an object or something like that. Yeah, it's possible to add other lamps with HDRI, and we will play with that with creating a studio with 3-point lighting in the end of this chapter. But first of all, we need to understand how works render engine. So here you have a scene with some lights and HDRI images. A render engine will not make the same, or it will affect the scene differently, and we will see how it works. We have several render engines in Blender, and it will be into the next video. In this video, we'll see render engines in Blender. So what is a render engine already? A render engine is an entire piece of software that will show you what's happening between the light, the object, and the environment. Okay, so for example, here we have the light that comes from the HDRI, the reflection that comes from the HDRI goes into Suzanne and comes back with information, with pixels informations into us, and this is the render engine work. So here we have several render engines in Blender. We have two basically. The third is not really a real render engine, and you can find it here. Okay, so basically it's very simple to understand. There are a few things that we will manage together, but already cycles, this one is really for more realism. Okay, if you search photographic look, more realism, you will use cycles. It will take more time to render, but it will be better for this task. Okay, then you have Eevee. Eevee, as you can see by default, it's far less realist, and here we can realistic here, and we can just tell by default it will not look realistic, but it's far more quicker to make the render. So it can be sometimes really useful to make quick render or animations or things like that. Yeah, it's almost a real-time engine, like a game engine system. Okay, and here you have the workbench. So the workbench, it's a little like the 3D view that you have by default here. You can find exactly the same options that you have here. Okay, than you have here. So it's just to share maybe with colleagues or things like that, or yeah, to other people a screen of your 3D view. And so now if you make F12, you will have this view directly. Okay, so you can change with the 3 render engines, even if the workbench is not really a render engine here. What we will do, we'll just add a camera here, and just to make a little comparison. Okay, so let's add a camera, and maybe just with that view I will make Ctrl-Alt-0 and have this kind of framing here. Okay, so if I look here at the cycles render, maybe let's put an environment with this kind of outside view like that. Yeah, it's perfect. And maybe we'll add the lights as well. And we will not put the strength too much, like 0.5 will be a nice, yeah, something nice to render like this. Okay, so now if I want to make a render, I just have to see a little, I just have to watch little options here. You have the noise threshold, so it tells that it will stop rendering, it will stop compute when you have not too much noise into the image here. And here it's the same, but with a higher value. You have the viewport and the render here. The samples are the number of time that it will compute. So by default, I found it very too high. So what I do, I just put 100 here, and 16 here will be enough for what we have to do. Okay. And what I will do, I will just make F12. So now it will start compute, and you can see here that it will render the samples and the image will look less and less blurry. And then after it will denoise, you have some noise, it will denoise, and then after you have the render. Okay, perfect. Maybe I did enable the highlights into the render here as well. So not the light experiment here. So it doesn't look exactly like in the viewport. Be careful of that. Huh? And now I have the render that I want. Okay. So here you can see it takes some time a little, and the time is 13 seconds here, and I have a decent image to render. Good. Now I would like to play with the slot 2 and come to make the comparison with here Eevee. Eevee by default, the samples and the render here are good. You don't have to change anything. You have the shadows. You see that you have some shadows, but it doesn't reflect the environment. For example, if you watch Suzanne, the reflections of Suzanne, you can see that it reflects, and it's really strange. It reflects the HDRI and not the table. So to make understand Blender that there is a table here, you have to enable ray tracing here. Ray tracing will make your render look better, but it will increase a little the time of rendering, and it will blur a little the image as well, especially reflections here. In Suzanne we can see it already. So now I can make F12 and we can see a little the differences. So now you see it's finished already, and we have an image that was for, let's say 3 seconds and a half. Okay, so 3 seconds for this one, 13 seconds for that one. We could increase a little the quality of the second one by moving some little options or things like that, but it will never be exactly the same. As you can see here, even the plant here, for example, here the plant, you have the light that goes through it, so it's really more realistic. Here I don't talk about the reflections there that are really more beautiful. So yeah, even if you enable ray tracing into Eevee, it will never be as good as as good as Cycles, or you will have to tweak a lot of things. The first thing to notice, and a big difference between the two render engines, it's the HDRI lighting. So here, if I come back to Cycles, disable the disable the lights here. Oh, sorry. So disable the lights here. Good. And put back the sky strength at, let's say, 1. Okay. And I will go into one that creates some shadows, like for example, maybe the Victoria sunset here that create nice shadow. I will put the rotation like this we'll have something interesting. You can see that we have real shadow that comes from the HDRI. So if I go there now in Eevee, you can see the difference. Here you have no, and that's why it cannot be as beautiful as Cycles. Sometimes it's very useful to use render engine Eevee. I don't tell it's not good. It's just made for quick tasks, okay? And if you want, you can really have really nice renders in Eevee. I come back here to show you that into Blender here, demo files. So you can see that there is a specific area for Eevee, and it shows really that Eevee is a good render engine. Like for example, look at this image, okay, or that one here, or that one. So it can really create nice stuff, but yeah, you have to tweak more things to have realistic image for sure. So it's the main difference between the two render engines. The HDRI will not create shadow, and it's so much less realistic. Look at this image here and look at this image. Okay, you can choose whatever. And here you have so the possibility to make better renders with Cycles, more photographic look. You have advanced features, so you see here the viewports samples and the viewport samples here. If you put more, it will make more time to render. If I put 500, for example, and make a render now, you can see that it will start to compute. And now it will just compute the 500 samples. So it will refine and refine more the noise of the image. But as we use denoise in the end, usually we don't have to go that high, except for specific cases, okay? But in that case, for example, 100 will be enough, okay? So you can see here, it took 28 seconds, and it's not really, it will not be a big change, for example. If I take the slot 2, for example, to make a comparison here and make something at 50, let's go really low, or let's take 50, for example, and enable the denoise. If you have here the GPU, use GPU for denoise, you can use different kind of denoising style. Like for example, you can use optics if you have CUDA, if you have NVIDIA card, so can be very useful as well. But by default, everything is good. Just use the GPU to make it quicker, and let's use F12 again with their settings, okay? And you can see that now it will go far quicker. For sure, you have only 50 samples, and the difference between the two images, there are some little differences, but honestly, slot 1, slot 2, slot 1, it's a little over there that you will find some little differences, maybe, yeah, into the reflections, but we cannot tell that the second is bad, is less good. Here it's already very good. So you see that here, just with 6 seconds, I have already something very good in Cycles. So Is it good to use Eevee for this task and have something quicker? I'm not sure. With denoise and everything and good setup, it will be okay. So be careful. It use a lot of the GPU, so be aware that you need a good GPU to work in 3D anyway. So this is the world. And so yeah, you can, but honestly, with a 4060 GTX, it's not a so big investment, and you can start to make already really good stuff. And then if you want to go more professionally or something like that, you can go with graphic cards that are more expensive, like the 470, 480 or 90 even, if you have high budget. But yeah, it can be really good to have something that is comfortable to work with. I think that for now 470 is a good choice to have something already really comfortable. So yeah, and here we have the possibility to manage in the advanced, not in the advanced, sorry, in the light path. You have to enable the number of bounces that will be in the render engine. So for example, how to show you that? I will show you that with an object with no reflections, but with here transmission. Okay, so and let's enable the transmission of the object and decrease the metallic, and now we'll have something like this. So totally transparent like that. So it works pretty well. But let's say it will cross one time, two time, select the color behind, one time, two times, so it will be four times to come back to the camera. Okay. And this is the number, so it will cross one time, another time there, at this point, it will go find the information behind, like for example this part of the wall, and come back here and there. Okay, so it will be 4 times for this. If I have another object, it will be 8 times behind. If I have another object, it will be 12 times, and etc, etc. So you can just imagine that if you have a lot of transparent objects, you will need a lot of bounces. And here into the render, it's this number that you will manage. And it will work for the transmission here. For example, it's the transmission here because it goes through the object. So it's 12 by default. So it will manage well, let's say 3 objects. But if you have 4, 6 objects like that, that will have a lot of transparency that the light will go through, you will have to increase this. And usually you can see that it creates kind of dark dots on it. And so if you have this kind of artifacts, you just increase the transmission value here or the total transmission there. And that's it. The rest usually we don't talk about it that much. You can use caustics here. You can use clamping. It's more for manage the noise here, but as we have the denoiser, we don't have to talk about it that much. We have some volume settings as well. So for volume objects like clouds, but we will see that maybe in the shaders. And that's it. The simplify, the motion blur is important, and it's for both. Here you have the cycles and the Eevee that is here, and you have the motion blur as well. So what is the motion blur? It's when you have an object that is animated and that cross, for example, the camera here. So let's go for it. And with Suzanne here, we will tell that Suzanne is here, and we will see how to make animation after, for sure. But let's say Suzanne is here behind the wall. Let's go. No, let's make GX, maybe GY. Okay, and put it there. Okay, and I input a key into the location and go maybe 100 frame later and make GY again and make it cross until here. Okay, like this it will go fast. And I make a key here. We will really see that into the animation chapter, but now we can see that Suzanne is animated, and here we can not see that there is any blur because we didn't enable the motion blur. And now that we did enable the motion blur, when you make a render, it will appear. So you can increase the shutter here and increase the steps and make F12, and you will see the result here. Okay, and you see that now Suzanne has motion blur into it. And it will be exactly the same kind of settings that you will find into Cycles as well. Okay, so you have here the motion blur with a shutter option here that you can increase or decrease. And now if I make a render, it will show that there is some blur into my object because it goes through the scene like that. Okay, so it's important to understand this system. Into the film option here, you have the possibility to manage the exposure, the global exposure. You have to manage if you want the world transparent or not, but it's already here in Easy HDRI, so we can just, it's the same button here really. So as it's already here, maybe we don't use it that much here. And for the rest, you have already, everything that is covered. Most important is covered there. You have the bake option that maybe we'll see later. The grease pencil that you can draw objects into it, and freestyle to make a more toonish render. But honestly, it's really specific cases and we will not use them that much. So that's it for the render engines. You can see that I recommend for everything, if you want to use Blender to create realism or not too much toony things, you can use Cycles. It will create better scenes, or honestly, for reflections, for shadows, for caustics, for blur. When you talk about motion blur or things like that, everything is better in Cycles. It takes more time to render, and so that's why you need a good graphic card. So that's it for the render engines, and we will make a little exercise to create a studio with 3-point lighting. In this video, we will create a 3-point light studio here. So what we will do, we will use rain that comes from Blender Studio website here that you can find here. So if you want to go to it, you go to studioblender.org, characters, rain, and you will find a lot of characters that you can download. You can subscribe to Blender Studio and you can download everything, but now here you can download only what is free. So you can download snow, rain. Here you have ANR, you have a lot of things that you can download and experiment with. So yeah, it's very it's a very good gift that they give us. And so I did choose rain for this task that we have to do. What we will need here is to, let's say you did finish a modeling, or you want to show up the result of something you did, and you want to show to people how your work is good. So let's go into it. And here you have the possibility to enable the rig or the geometry. So what we will do, we'll enable only the geometry. You can see the character here. And what I will add is a new collection, and this collection will be the studio. Okay. So this collection, I can add a mesh plane, and I will create a background here. So a background will help me to have something smooth behind with a ground, okay, into it. So we have the ground that is done like this, and to have something soft behind and create a wall behind, we can extrude it into the z-axis like that. Extrude these two vertices and take back these two vertices and make Ctrl B to create a nice curve shape like that, and to have something smooth when you watch like this by just make a right click in object mode and shade smooth. Okay, so now you have this kind of design. Maybe we can scale it down a little to have something like this. Perfect. Now what we would like is add a camera maybe. So what we will do, we'll add a camera. Let's go for it. And the camera here inside view, make Alt R 90 degrees negative to make the orientation well, and place it just like that. Like this, we'll have this kind of view. Maybe we would like to focus into our character, so we can change the framing already. We can change portrait mode, so we'll go there. Maybe we can put 1200 here and 1600 there, okay, to have this kind of framing. And now you can go into the camera options and use this to zoom in and frame the character well. With GZ you can just go there, okay, and you have a nice framing already. Okay, good. So this will be the render that we will have in camera view. But if we enable this in rendered view, you can see that there are not a lot of things to do, not a lot of things that will work well. First thing that we will do, we'll use cycles. It will create a better render. You can see the transparency of the eyes works better. And we will go into GPU for sure. We will enable denoise into the viewport, and maybe we can change the world here to not have for now any disturbing during the process of make the lights. Okay, so we can disable this. Now we will add our first light. The first light will be a sun here. The sun will be our main light. So let's add a sun. Maybe inside the studio we can create a new collection that we will call lights. And like this it will be inside the studio here, okay? And now I can add here a light sun, and it will be inside directly. You can see that it will work like this. So what we will do, first of all, we'll create a rotation like this. And what we want is a direction of the light that will go like this, but like this as well. Okay, so let's say 45 degrees. So now that I have this, I will make RZ to make the light comes like this and have a nice shadows there. Okay, so we have our main light basically. Just to place it well, I will just place my light over there. Like this, I can really see that it crosses the direction that I want. Okay. So something like this might be good already. And then we can go to the light to change the color and everything. But for now, we will just stick with that. And then we will add another light. This light will be an area light. Good. So what we want to put it into the side. So we will make a rotation in front view. We'll make a rotation 90 degrees like that and put it here. So you can see that now, before it was like this, we had some very dark shadow here that is not really realistic. Now we can detach these shadows here. Usually we don't use a big power, we use a big square, like for example, something like that. Okay, something big, but without a strong power. We don't want something like 50, like that is stronger than the main light. So maybe something like 20 might be good. We have the shadows, but we can see maybe 15 even in, yeah. And we will see after, we will manage all of these settings after. So what we can do as well is adding another backlight here. So this one is the side here, and we would like something in the back to detach the volume. So to do that, we will add here an area, another area, make a rotation into the x-axis 90 degrees, negative, to have this kind of light that goes here like that. And what we would like to do is put it here somewhere. Okay, so be careful. This here, it's really to detach the side here. So what we can do, we can increase the strength of it. You can see it like that. But usually we don't want it that much into this object here. So what we will do, we'll create, as we did before, we did see it already for the shading option, we create a light linking, we create a new collection. And this collection will be the rain geometry that we just click and drag like this, okay? So now only rain is affected by this light that you can see like this into the side here. We will have this nice highlights into the back. So by changing the strength of the light, like put maybe 100, let's say, okay, you will have this nice. And here you see that in the ears we have a nice render as well. So it makes the difference here. Okay, what you can do is increase the main light maybe by a strength of 3, something like this, and you will have already a nice render. You see that we have a nice light that goes through it. We can go here with something with a bigger angle to have softer shadow, for example, and it starts to be like a studio here. Okay, so you can see that it works pretty well to already have a light system that will work perfectly. What you could add when you have some reflections or when you want to add an ambient into it, you can add a easy HDRI as well, an HDRI image here. So I will just select here my HDRI image. Okay, and create world node. So it's too strong for sure, but in case you have some reflections, you can play with the settings. Let's take something with down here, so not too much shadows, and decrease the sky strength. 0.1 might be enough in that case. It will create a kind of ambience outside and will add some realism to your scene in case you need some reflections. It's not the case for rain for sure, but let's say for example this will be metallic. It's totally stupid, but let's tell it. Okay, so I will increase the metallic side here, and yeah, so you can see already the reflections, and maybe I will just remove this into nothing. Maybe we have this possibility. Disconnect. Perfect. And I will change the roughness into something like that. Okay, so before, with the strength at 0, we have everything that is totally dark here, and it's not really realistic actually. So if you increase just the strength at 0.2, it will not change that much the lighting, but here already it looks more natural and beautiful. Okay, I come back to a normal t-shirt here. Sorry, rain, to disturb your clothings. And here already you have something good. So what you can do as well is add a new, we will play with materials more deeply in Blender after, but you can change the material and let's call it here background. Okay. So you can play with the materials here and put it with the pure white, or maybe you want to go with the grays here, for example, or maybe a color. It can work as well. Okay. If you want something more colorful, it works too, and it creates a nice ambient into it. So yeah, you can play with the settings as well, and you can create really dark one, for example, without roughness. It will make some nice reflections here. So yeah, a lot of options already just with that to create nice renders. But you can play with the settings of the lights as well. I will come back with a very light gray here to have something like this, and with a big roughness to not have any reflection. So something like that will be good. You can play with the light settings. For example, if you want something that is a warmer tones, that will have warmer tones, you will select this and go with something like that. Okay. And you can even contrast it with the other light that is here. If you want to contrast it, you will go to the blue here. And now the shadows will look a little more blue. You can see it here in that part. Okay, so here it's white, here it's blue, and it creates more contrast between the two shadows, between the two lights. Okay, if I increase the power of this one, it will create really blue light here. So yeah, you can play with all of the settings to make nice renders. Maybe sometimes you want something with more power behind 300, let's say, for example, and you will have this nice here highlights behind the character that looks very more realistic now. So yeah, you can play with all of the settings with this. Good. So now what we could do as well is create a little animation, or at least parent everything to an empty. So here is an empty, and we will just add an empty into the center, and it will be a sphere like this. It's easy to catch. Maybe I will make the radius a little bigger, like something like that. And I will parent all the objects that they are into the studio, okay, to this empty. So I will select all the objects with shift here, and the empty at last here, like this. The empty will be yellow. Good. And now I will make Control P, set parent to object. Now what is good is that if I make a rotation of the empty, the entire studio will move like this. And like this, let's say I would like the side of rain. I just make RZ 90 degrees. And now I will have the side of rain. And it will not change the shader and anything, because I will have the same setup into my scene. So it's really important to understand that. Okay. If I want the back, I make RZ 90 degrees more, and I have the back of the character, and Shift R, and it comes back to the beginning. You can even animate after, and we will see that in the animation section, but you can animate this to have something that will make 360 degrees like that. And you can make a turnaround of a character or whatever you did model, okay? So yeah, it's already something that is very important to understand. So everything now is parented inside the empty, and we have a studio collection that you can call wherever you want. You can go into File, here, Append, and go to select the collection that you want to import, and you can import this studio setup in any Blender file that you are working on, any project that you are working on. So very important to understand that this is not something that you will have to remake After, you can just go into File, Append, and search this collection directly into the file. So a very powerful method just to have a Studio Light ready to work with. So yeah, I saved this anyway into the source files as usual. For the lighting and render engine chapter, I think we did everything that I wanted to cover. Into the next chapter, we'll go through the materials, and it will be a big one, but so interesting one. We will see how to use textures, we'll see how to make nice reflections, create procedural materials, and all this stuff will be into the next chapter and will help you to have more realistic scenes. So see you in the next chapter.